Sometimes the look of summer is about more than just beach blankets, ocean waves, and fireworks. Here on the Cape, though, the ocean will always be a factor. But sometimes it's about what's on it, in it, and around it that can attract the crowds. The landing here on Barcliff Ave in Chatham has all the classic Cape Cod elements that are neat for tourists and still enjoyable for even the locals.
This is one of the biggest draws for Chatham tourism, is this market and the surrounding Pier area. And it's quite unique for the Cape.
While the out-of-towners may show up to see the fishing boats or catch a glimpse of one of several seals patrolling these waters, the locals like to get here early for the fresh catch. Paul Deneen is Cape Cod born and raised, and 2026 will be his 5th season as GM here at the Chatham Pier Fish Market. For him, everything about the pier is part and parcel with living in Chatham.
I moved here like 15 years ago, and I just find it to be one of the most beautiful places on the planet to live. And there's just, how can you hate it? It's ocean, seafood.
Judging by the number of traps being loaded onto the fishing boats here, it's no secret that lobster is one of the main outputs at the market. In fact, they've even got this very unique swimming hole of sorts where they store the lobsters.
The water's chilled down till about 40 degrees, and it keeps the lobsters nice and happy. We have oxygenated water coming through there, and no other place has that around here. And we have about, I think it's like 60,000 gallons of water pumped in here every day, fresh from the sea.
Of course, the movie for these lobsters doesn't have a very happy ending. But for the folks who line up outside the window for takeout, it's a very different story.
Our biggest draw is our lobster rolls, our buttered lobster rolls, or our traditional New England style lobster rolls, which is a little light mayo, cold lobster meat on a brioche with French fries. That's our biggest draw.
Well, as they say, when in Rome, or in my case, having never had a lobster roll before, there's a first time for everything. I figured I'd be a darn fool if I tried leaving here without trying their famous lobster roll. And a quick cutaway to other people eating lunch so no one has to see me with mayonnaise all over my face. Though it may only be a seasonal operation, the Chatham Pier Fish Market has been an institution here in town since the 1950s. The photo on the wall from 1938 of the store's original owner is a reminder of not just the nostalgia, but the legacy and tradition of this business, and the good feelings that it brings when it's open.
This place is just so special because when we open in the spring, people know that the winter's over. And after a harsh winter and they see that we're starting to get open, it's like the sign that things are gonna get better. And that's like, and we love that. And I love being a part of this community, serving them fish.
My name is Greg Ketchen. I'm the president of the Coast Guard Heritage Museum and a retired Coast Guard officer. I spent over 30 years in the Coast Guard, involved in all aspects of operation the Coast Guard. Frankly, our museum here is run by volunteers, and just a rough number, probably 300 to 400 years of experience in the Coast Guard with the 50 or more volunteers we know. So it's a very rich history of the Coast Guard, but also people here with knowledge about that. The Coast Guard can share that, and we enjoy that. They enjoy sharing that history with visitors. Our self-imposed mission is to protect, preserve, and celebrate Coast Guard history. Frankly, the history is extremely rich here. Massachusetts is the birthplace of the Coast Guard, the 18th century, 1700s. before the Coast Guard began, and focusing on 4 of our primary missions today. That's search and rescue, which most people think of as a Coast Guard, the helicopters and boats going out. Second is aids navigation, which is lighthouses and buoys and lightships and those sort of things. And the third is what was known as the Revenue Cutter Service. Revenue Cutter Service was involved in law enforcement, national defense. It was the only Navy in the early to late 1790s. The Navy had been disbanded after the war and wasn't reinstituted until then. So we have a rich history here. The point is that we're here as a museum because this is the birth of the Coast Guard. Massachusetts is the birthplace. Plus, Cape Cod is such a rich history too. I mean, everything from, on a negative side, there have been by a rough count, over 3,000 shipwrecks off of Cape Cod. That's not necessarily a happy event, but the Coast Guard was involved, particularly from the recent ones. But it also is places where so many historic things have occurred. Upstairs we have, for many of us, significant, it's a flag, a Coast Guard ensign that is flown on landing craft during World War II when they went into D-Day into Omaha Beach. There's a flag there that flew that way, and to many of us that's really kind of an emotional experience to see that. Our docents, both the ones that are former Coast Guard, others that are historians, really enjoy telling those stories to people. They're just such a rich history of that. It's exciting. Our docents are not all just Coast Guard people, though. There are dedicated historians that just love maritime history and love the heroism involved in many aspects of what the Coast Guard was involved in. So it's a lot of fun. It's a family atmosphere here. So we really enjoy showing it off to our visitors. And the artifacts we have here are on 2 floors, actually 3 floors. Our basement is our archive and our research library, but 2 floors open to the public. The building that we're in is called the U.S. Customs House, or Barnstable Customs House. It served as a customs office for most of the 19th century into the early part of the 20th century, serving all of this as headquarters for the entire customs operations on Cape Cod and the islands. It alone is worth a stop by to see the building because there's some very rich history of that. It was the first fireproof building built on Cape Cod. We are in Barnstable Village, but also Barnstable Harbor, which just down the street, a short distance, was a significant second-tier port in Massachusetts. It wasn't the size of Boston or Salem, but it was an important port. So having the Coast Guard Museum here now, because Coast Guard and the customs offices were both under the Department of the Treasury at the time, work together closely, and it's appropriate to be back in this building now to celebrate that history. Please do stop by. I mean, I think it's worth the visit. We're much more than, I think some people get the impression we're just a glorified man cave with a bunch of patches and hats. It's not that way. We have a few of those, but most of it are artifacts that are from, in fact, the 1700s or later, and just a lot of artifacts that were given to us have so much rich history. All of them have been donated over the years. That's amazing. The quality of some of the artifacts and history associated with them.
I am Andrew Gottlieb, the Executive Director of the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. APCC is the Cape's largest and longest existing environmental advocacy and education organization. We work on issues of concern across the region of Cape Cod. We've been around since 1968. So the mission of APCC is to help preserve and protect the environmental well-being of Cape Cod, both for current and future generations. Our programs and our scope and breadth runs from Bourne to Provincetown. Our focus changes periodically depending on what's going on. In today's world, Our primary focus is on protection and enhancement of water quality. In particular, our focus has been around reducing nutrient enrichment of our waters, primarily through controlling three primary sources. Septic effluent, primary means of wastewater disposal on the Cape is through backyard septic systems. Those have degraded our marine environment and our freshwater environment. And so fixing that problem and helping towns get the resources necessary to address that problem has been a primary focus of ours. We're working a lot these days on encouraging and creating the financial tools necessary to enable towns, land trusts, and local entities to preserve the remaining portion of the land of Cape Cod that is neither developed nor protected. 60,000 acres of prime habitat that will go a long way towards determining what our environmental future is. Doing a lot of work on that. We are very heavily invested in projects that restore the functioning of wetland resources, both coastal salt marshes, freshwater wetlands, and doing a lot on reconverting bogs that are no longer producing cranberries back to natural wetland systems. And then lastly, I would say our other area of discipline is in promoting good land use practices that homeowners can implement so that they can have their yards look and feel the way they want them to feel, but do it in a way that works with as opposed to against nature. We have active monitoring of a number of saltwater marsh areas where we're either planning to do restoration work or have done restoration work, doing the research necessary to understand what current conditions are so that we have a baseline to evaluate how well the system responded to the intervention. And then for projects where we've had interventions, we're monitoring to see how quickly those resources recover. We have a 9-month-a-year freshwater monitoring program where we're looking at 50 ponds in collaboration with Barnstable County, understand water quality in our ponds. We can do some broad characterizations of what's going on there. We run a very robust cyanobacteria monitoring program in our freshwater ponds, 150-odd ponds across the Cape, where we look for presence or absence of cyanobacteria, where we find presence in sufficient density that it creates the possibility of toxic releases from the cyanobacteria. We have an online mapping tool that we notify the public about the presence of those things and advise them on restricting or limiting their access and utilization of those water bodies. We have a few hundred volunteers that work with us on a variety of programs and efforts, everything from helping us with office work to being out in the field. The vast majority of the cyanobacteria samples that we collect are collected through engagement with volunteers. So we have an extensive training program with volunteers. They allow us to have a much broader scope program. Our baseline water quality work that we're doing with the county on the 50 ponds, every one of our samples is taken with a volunteer. Volunteers are at the core of the annual herring counting that we do as an organization in the spring. It tends to focus on the spring and the spring migration. We have dozens of people that are out in the field counting. So volunteers are a really important part of extending the work that we can do. So for anybody who's interested in learning anything about any of our programs, cyanobacteria, sign up for alerts, volunteer, just become more environmentally aware, visit our website at apcc.org. While we're still relatively small, we have been growing. I think our growth is in response to a desire from the people who live, work, and recreate on Cape Cod to preserve the nature of the environment that drew them here in the first place. And, the threats to our environment are significant and real. The destiny of this is not preordained, and how it comes out has a lot to do with what we do to be active, to take common sense steps to preserve the environment, and that's what we're all about.
The weather from the spring of 2026 may have left a bit to be desired for just about everyone. But if there were ever a sign that sunny and warmer days were on their way, it would be the Gateway Sand Sculpture here at the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce on the corner of Higgins Crow Road and Route 28. Since 2011, Fitzy Snowman Sculpting has exercised his artistic license, much to the delight of Cape residents and visitors, as a means of kicking off the summer season.
It's really a great thing that's been going on since 2011. People look forward to it. We do up to 30. This year we're doing 23 sculptures. And people go, they grab maps. After we're done, they just travel around and they look at all the sculptures. But they're at the sculptures, they're also patronizing those businesses too, kind of saying thanks, you know, for participating. So it's a great boost for the businesses. It's a great experience for the tourists that are coming in. And it's great for me because 5 million people come through this town every year. And so all those people are seeing my art. So it's like having a public gallery.
Of course, Sean Fitzpatrick doesn't work alone. His business partner Tracy is the detail-oriented half of this team, while Sean focuses on the creative end of things. And if they sound like a married couple with their back-and-forth chatter, there's good reason.
It'll be 39 years we're married in June, and working together, sometimes I have to remind him that I have an extra pillow, and I will use it if I have to. And I mean, we go back and forth. I mean, we get along fine, but that's like we bicker back and forth, like, no, that doesn't look right. No, fix that. But we get along fine. We haven't killed each other yet.
Beyond the 39 years of marital bliss, these two have been enjoying sandbox playdates since they first met, all the way back when Tracy's family moved into Sean's neighborhood on the North Shore of Massachusetts.
I go down there, I see a little girl, she's like walking in the street, like in the middle of the street, and they're unloading all the stuff going to the house. Walk up to her, I'm 5 years old at the time. I reach over, I give her a little kiss on the cheek, and she starts bawling instantly, right? So I look out and I'm like, oh, what did I do, you know? All of a sudden, 5 of her older brothers come running out of the house. That was my first impression of that family to them, so didn't go over very well. I learned how to run pretty quick, that's how that worked out.
For roughly 10 months out of the year, this artistic duo will reside in homes and sleep in beds that don't belong to them as they tour coast to coast, being commissioned to produce their incredible artwork for corporate and community events all over. They've been featured on national television and are recognized far and wide, not only for their work with sand, but also for their pumpkin carving and ice and snow sculpting. They've worked for several Fortune 500 brands, as well as many professional sports leagues. Yet, almost in spite of all of their accolades and achievements, they remain two of the most grounded people that anyone would want to meet.
We're out here with the people, and honestly, it's what we love most about this job is the people that we meet. We meet some great people, and it's like you can be having a down day, and like, oh, this is, you know, I'm not working the way I want, and someone will show up and be like, oh, you changed my day, you know, thank you so much for what you do, you make the town better, and it makes you feel better. So you don't know what kind of day they're having and how much effect you have on them just by making a sand sculpture.
For Sean Fitzpatrick, it probably feels like a lifetime ago that he was entrenched in his career as an auto mechanic, just tinkering with the idea of doing this type of thing after making a pretty impressive snow sculpture for his young daughter. Now, all these years and thousands of tons of sand later, could there be a potential retirement somewhere on the horizon?
I feel like I might take my last breath on a pile. You know, it brings me too much joy. It's stressful. It beats up the body. But when you're so passionate about something, it's almost like you don't have a choice. So no, retirement is never in my future.
According to a food access study conducted by Brigham and Women's Hospital and the Greater Boston Food Bank, 34% of households in Barnstable County suffered from food insecurity in 2024. So Cape Media Center thought we'd stop by two busy pantries in our community, Family Pantry of Cape Cod and Harwich, and Cape Cod Community Pantry in South Yarmouth, to learn more on how they're helping those in need.
We have over 100 volunteers, all unpaid, and they're all committed to making a difference in our community. I think one of the things that gets lost on us being a food pantry is that these folks come in here and volunteer knowing that we're helping our neighbors. All the people that come in and need help with food are neighbors. They all live in Barnstable County, and we all live on this beautiful place called Cape Cod, and these people happen to be here.
The mission statement is to feed and clothe all in need. Very simple, very basic, and we live by it. We have 450 volunteers and that are active. We have over 600 that are time off, have a summer job, and they return. And they're all specialists in it. First people that the client sees is the check-in window. We check their ID. Are they eligible to shop? Has it been 10 days? Is there any updates needed for their information? And we hand them the current shopping list. We give that order sheet to our shopper. We call it pick and pack, and off they go. And they pick that order. They zoom around that operation, pick up the dairy, pick up the protein, pick up the produce, and probably a 15-minute turnaround for a client's order.
We have to go down to Harwich at the Family Pantry once a week to pick up our up to 5,000 pounds of food. So we needed a new truck because our older truck was basically on its last legs. So we made the effort and we purchased this new truck with the proper van ramp information on it so that we can go to the bigger docks and pick up the food without having to do it. We couldn't do it without it.
Sue puts in the order for the food bank on the previous Wednesday and Thursday. So we know what's coming in off of that truck. So we know that there's going to be X amount of produce and or fruit and as to the fresh stuff. And then I would say the majority of it is going to be canned goods and frozen poultry and meat.
In the course of a week, we will put 800 shopping families through the building and 14,000 in a year. There's a lot of product that goes in the building, and there's a lot that goes out.
We'd like people to think of us as, if you have a high mortgage payment or all of a sudden a car bill or a high medical bill, let us provide the food for you. You save that money to take care of your other issues in life, and we've got the food.
Since we've been in business for a short 15 years, we've helped over 13,000 unique people with food insecurity. I believe that the people who are in a position to not work and be retired are the ones that can come in here and volunteer. But we're aging out. We need some younger people to come in and help us with what we do.
My team does their thing all over town or wherever. There's a team that comes in here in the morning to stock, put the stuff away, and do all of that stuff. And then there's the teams that come in and actually do the distributions, which is the main point of what everyone does, is to do the distributions and to help the people.
For families that don't know how they're going to feed their kids at night, we don't want kids going home to bed hungry. We want them to have a healthy lunch the next day if they don't have the school lunch program. And it means a lot to think that, we're helping that way.
At the end of a very, very busy food distribution on a Tuesday or a Thursday night, and 40, 50, 60 families or households have come through, and everybody's leaving with a whole cart full of groceries. It's very heartwarming.
Hey, I'm Kayla. I was an intern at Cape Media Center back in 2019, and that experience totally launched my career in media. And I'm Destiny. I was right there with Kayla in 2019, learning everything from camera work to editing and loving every second of it. The staff here at Cape Media Center were always hands-on and always willing to answer our questions, especially with our final project. We created a series of videos called the Blue Economy Project, where we dove deeper into how the ocean plays a vital role in Cape Cod's economy. The series was well approved, and we couldn't have done it without the Cape Media Center. Fast forward to now, I'm working in live music production and have even worked at venues such as Gillette Stadium and Fenway Park. And I actually came full circle. I'm back at the Cape Media Center, this time on staff. Cape Media Center gave us the tools, the confidence, and the real-world experience to chase our creative goals. It's more than just a media center, it's a launchpad for your future. Start your story at Cape Media Center in Dennisport. Cape Media Center, your voice, your vision, your community.